wicked people of Israel sinned before Almighty God, He sent them the truth in two forms, that of the law and of the prophets. And these two witnesses stand in judgment of San Antonio Sartori, a vessel made for the purpose of destruction, to be crushed at the hands of the Calvinists, so that the glory of God, His power, His might may be displayed in your destruction. The day of judgment has come for you, and your fate has been determined. Your actions are of no consequence in escaping. Your fate is undeniable. Wrath will be poured out on you, San Antonio Sartori. They call me the Calvinist, but my middle name is Destruction. Didn't have to end this way. San Antonio Sartori is a man of his word, and today could have had a peaceful ending. Now, because I keep my word, I'm gonna let this little fool go. This big brain gonna get his channel back. Everything gonna go back to normal for a while. But this Calvinist has gone and made things personal with San Antonio Sartori. And ain't no way he gonna get this kayfabe belt any other way than taking it from me. Talking about being predestined for destruction and all that. The only thing predestined is for a cowboy boot to knock that silly hat off your skull. You hear? Well, we're gonna see. We might have our little talk. People show up today. We can put this little controversy to rest with the author. But things are going to be personal between you and I. And the only way that's going to get settled is in the ring. And I don't mean no live stream. It's going down. You better say your prayers. You better make peace with your creator. Because San Antonio Sartori ain't going to have no peace with you until you're laying down on the mat.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
I didn't actually watch WrestleMania.
That's okay.
Can you enable guest streaming so I can send this off to my channel?
How do I do that?
Click on settings and then guests.
Okay. Crap. I have to upgrade.
Oh, sorry. I was wondering about that. Yeah, they try to make you pay for everything, don't they?
I mean, honestly, if you want to start one and then I can just jump onto yours, that would probably be
we can do that. I mean, I don't know what you want to do. I had forgotten about this. Yoav actually reminded me. I had set notifications. But the Pope died this morning.
Yeah. He was shocked. It was because he was so shocked by the end of WrestleMania.
That must have been it. Like the last thing he did, it was apparently meet JD Vance. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
So Yeah, so I was gonna be like, oh, people will want to talk about that, and then I scheduled that, and Yoav's like, you forgot about WrestleMania. I was like, so what was the plan? Like, am I supposed to do like, oh yeah, I'm gonna destroy you?
No, I thought about jumping on live streams, but I'm like, it's just too weird to try to do it like live. So I'm like, because if you record it, you can. I mean, it's still like weird to be like, okay, I'm just gonna do this thing now, but at least that way it's not like, you know, you're there's nobody there to like cause you to break by their
Yeah,
reactions.
I don't think I could keep a straight face for anything.
Yeah. Oh, good. We got a heel in the house.
You have a hater.
I thought it was fun. I mean,
I thought this was great. Yeah, I was excited about this, but I didn't know what exactly you were what you were planning on doing. So,
well, my main thing was like, because like this is all the thinky talky space, and everybody was like, the kayfabe and blah blah blah, and is politics kayfabe, is like religion kayfabe, and then it's like, well, your familiarity with the source material goes a long way in how well you're going to be able to apply these concepts. And so it was actually like, I mean, it's kind of the same thing behind my whole idea with the tectonic school. It's like, how are you going to understand these parables about farming and fishing and all these things if you've never done any of those things? And so if you want to understand how the world of wrestling, how the concepts of kayfabe are reflected in the greater world, your familiarity with the actual thing is helpful. So,
yeah.
But yeah. So, yes, we got the Grim Grizz.
You make
Hello,
seem
sir.
like half decent product, and here he comes in, the Hebrew Hammer, Mr. Fats, trying to put you under his management already. Don't let him seduce you, Sartori. Don't let him seduce you.
This is what we do. Like, we manage. I need my 10%.
You know the Reverend. He wants to be the Reverend Love to your Undertaker, and I won't allow it.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to watch Glow, not WWF.
I watched it all, man. Glow was the late night one, if you know what I mean.
My dad, it was the first thing that my dad ever told me you're not allowed to watch.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was it? Did you find a particular reason of that?
Well,
the adolescent age of the viewer.
Yeah, my dad was like, scantily dressed women wrestling. No, I'm not allowing that.
Oh, you meant the women's one specifically.
Glow, yeah, that's what Glow was. Gorgeous ladies of wrestling.
Okay.
And they
not just wrestling in general. I didn't know if you meant wrestling in general.
No. It was when I started watching Glow that my dad's like, no, that's not gonna work.
Before we get too far into the WrestleMania of it all, I think first of all we need to go back to the Calvinist against San Antonio Sartori, because I don't know about you guys. Why did Sartori release ML? He had all the leverage. Was that a face turn from San Antonio Sartori?
It was fear. The Calvinist struck fear into the heart of Sartori.
He said he was going to. As of right now, the only other channel besides San Antonio Sartori's channel is a channel titled The Calvinist. So, I mean, who knows what's gonna happen?
I see. Okay, noted. The story continues as it often does in wrestling.
Yeah. I needed to get some heat for this live stream. I'm gonna scale back the pace a little bit, so get some more things. They'll be scheduled out, so people will be able to anticipate it a little bit more. So
You need some more heat. You need some more. You got managers scouting you out. You got me bringing in a train full of people for my live stream. How much heat do you need? You need a Pass to Paul appearance?
Well, I don't know. I mean, so my subscriber count went up by 1 in the last 2 weeks. So, I mean, yeah, I understand. It's kind of like, it might take a little time for the new audience to, figure this out or something. But, that is the goal, right?
Yeah, that was the Calvinist channel subscribing to your main.
No, that one already was. But that one I haven't even gone up to 100 yet. So, yeah, I want to hit that 500.
Well, start by
and then my mom can become my first paying member.
You're gonna have to highlight a comment or two. I don't know how hard that is to do on a phone. But you got to they need to be recognized by you before they tell their friends.
Oh, sorry. Let's see.
A street fight enjoyer, McMo says.
Like and subscribe, people. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, I'm trying. This is actually working pretty good. I pulled out the laptop, and I'm running off of my my phone as the hotspot. But I drove her. I found a good spot and parked. Hello, Ethan.
This is the main event. You can't kayfabe a main event chat. You got to read out the ones you're going to respond to, or at least ones worth noting.
Okay. I see. All right. More of a street fight enjoyer. Well, that's probably, I don't, that might be what ends up taking place. I don't know if I have the means to fake a wrestling ring. So
okay, so I have an item to suggest for the agenda, and it's about Jacob's ladder, because I've heard a Calvinist the other day, and he said that this ladder is only something that angels are going down in. You cannot climb it. You have to wait for the angels to climb down to you. My question is, what would San Antonio Sartori say? Can one climb the ladder?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
And can one elbow drop off the top of it?
Yeah, probably.
That's the question, is how far up the ladder can you climb and still elbow drop on top of your opponent? All right, I'm having fun, guys, but I'm going to have it off cam. Have a good one.
Speaking of the Calvinist, Flibbers replied.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you watched it, Teo, and you thought it was mid?
Yeah, I did. I blame you for it because I didn't watch last year once.
Did you watch it by yourself?
Yeah, yes, I did. It was 2 a.m. by the time it ended.
Oh, yeah,
so
I guess
it was quite
true.
late.
That's really yeah. Well, so Saturday night I got to watch at my friend's house, who's a big enthusiast, and then I brought one of the kids from church over, and so that was pretty fun. Like, it's always more enjoyable to.
That's the way to do it.
Do such a thing, but I mean, I don't know. It was interesting. I thought, like, there was only a few, like, so Saturday there was only a few, like, kind of not very great performances overall. I mean, I was surprised, like, last year when I watched it. I'm like, you don't have to actually know anything to be entertained by watching this. So yeah. I mean, it's they know what they're doing in that sense, and it's not like. I don't know. They definitely don't. It's not as fake looking as it was like when I was a kid. So they've got. I think probably because HD cameras and stuff, you kind of have to figure it out. Like, because if you look at that stuff and if you can tell, like, if you were in there, it would all look real. If you were like in the arena and you weren't looking at the screens, but some of it's a little cheesy, but. Did you see the those fat guys on the tag team? Those guys were
the Viking Raiders. Is that what they were called?
That was the most agile man of that.
That man
group
can
that
move.
yeah,
When he did the spinning back kick, I was like, "What? How did you get your knees that high?" I think the commentator said this as much. Yeah, that was
yeah.
impressive.
Well, and then he did like a handspring and knocked those guys over. That was crazy. So yeah,
Well, yeah, I think in terms of the individual performances and the entertainment value, I think it was good. But in terms of the story, I thought all of it was just very mid. As the
yeah. I mean, I think last year's was really good, and that was like a long time coming kind of thing. I mean, definitely, it seems like the way that they ended it, it was, oh, this is not like an ending this year with Cena being the winner and being a bad guy and all that stuff.
Where was The Rock? Why was Travis Scott the main attraction for the end of WrestleMania? It was like, oh, he's gonna be the one to what? Travis Scott, him standing next to Cody was hilarious. Like, is this guy supposed to be threatening to Cody?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he didn't. It wasn't really anything. It was just his interference that really all that mattered. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. It's interesting just to think like, I guess so. The when I'm watching some stuff about like a summary of all the last years and stuff, and then I was thinking about the whole different like the Palm Sunday to Easter change of like the crowds and like what these people loved Jesus one week and then the next week they were like excited to kill him.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is accurate. This is not a hard thing to believe. Like, I don't know. It's like people are very fickle with their allegiances and their when things don't go the way they want. So
It's a wrestling fan summed up in a sentence, yeah. Fickle.
Another subject for discussion. Jacob against the Angel. Was it real or was it kayfabe?
That's a
I
great
think it was.
question. I'm
I mean,
fundamentalist, biblicist, six-day creationist. Yes, it was real.
well, I mean, I think it was real, and it was. I think it was both in a way. I mean, that was actually, so it's kind of funny. I
100% kayfabe. That's all it was. 100% kayfabe.
That doesn't mean it's not real. Link to K.O. Zeldin's video.
So I heard all these people talk about like when they went, all the old guys when they used to wrestle with Andre the Giant, and they said like all of them, like at some point in a match, it was like he would do something, and then they would be like, and then I realized this guy can kill me anytime he wants, like, and I think that was probably like the Jacob experience with the Angel, so. It was like wrestling Andre the Giant.
I feel like Ethan's just studying us to say, okay, what dumb thing would they say next? And I'll write it down quickly.
No. I'm working on someone else. I think it was very real. I think it was a very real kayfabe. Right? It was an invitation to participate in a story beyond yourself, and then you find yourself limping away from it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the part of the whole point of it is that Jacob is this guy who he bought into his own gimmick a little too much or whatever. His impulse to deceive others or whatever. He didn't recognize that there was a little self-deception going on. So.
Okay, first and foremost, the name Jacob means to grab the heel, right?
Yes.
Second, he grabs onto the Angel and says, I will not let you go until you bless me. And he is blessed with his new name, Israel, which becomes the name, right, of the entire nation. right? So this idea that like this was somehow like Jacob doing something wrong, like no,
say
this
that.
was Jacob fulfilling his destiny.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like you have to get to the bottom of your character, like, or whatever. You gotta go all the way and fully like live in that persona, and then you understand it, and then you can change and become something else. Because I think he kind of got a lot of his lessons where because obviously he starts off as being the deceptive guy with his brother, with his mother tricking his father and all that stuff, and then he meets Laban, and Laban's like way worse, and then Jacob's like, this kind of sucks, like being on this end of it.
But the verse says you have given truth to Jacob.
Yeah. Well, the
like,
holding on.
Right. Like grabbing life by the heels, I think is like most people want to grab life by the horns, but the whole point of Jacob is to grab life by the heels.
Mm. Well, okay, so I think one way of thinking of it, because I love the character of Jacob, and I also really grew to appreciate Esau too, and I think that the interesting thing about them is that it's not like the framing of like the good guy and the bad guy or whatever. I don't think is helpful in that regard. They're both on their own story, but like you kind of have to look at yourself and be like, hey, I have this skill set of like being, the heel or like the bad guy or whatever. And then you using that to like its best possible purpose is going to be the best path forward, like for you or whatever. It's just kind of the thing of like, and I would say this like as a critique of Christians when there's a view that like only being like a super pious, only being into really churchy things is like the only way to be godly. And it's like, well, I don't know about that. Like, because it's like if God gave you all the skills to be a great businessman or a politician or some other thing, and then it's like you're gonna go be a monk or be a pastor or something like that, because those are like the godly things to do, then you're really not using what God has given you to the best purpose that you can. So
I just looked up the answer, the translation to Micah 7:20. The NIV and ESV are both exceedingly bad.
Which one is that?
So Micah 7:20. I'll give you the Hebrew. Actually, here, if you want, I can present it. So the Hebrew.
Too far into theology, this is still a WrestleMania recap show, right?
Yes.
We are who we are. Stop trying to make us inauthentic, Taya. Titen emet le'Yaakov chesed la'Avraham asher nishbata la'avotenu mimei kedem. You will give truth to Jacob. Like KJV is actually not so bad. And mercy or living kindness to Abraham, as you swore to our fathers from the earliest days. Like the translation, NIV, you will be faithful to Jacob and show love to Abraham as you pledged an oath to our ancestors in the days long ago. ESV, you will show us your faithfulness and unfailing love as you promised to our ancestors Abraham and this is a New Living, which is incredibly bad. You will show faithfulness to Jacob and steadfast love to Abraham as you have sworn to our fathers from the days of old. Like they completely strip out the word truth. Not happy.
So, John Cena, I think you're muted. No more. Sorry, I just realized it's no more, not Michael. Gnome, you're muted, I think.
Am I?
Oh, yeah, you're
Can you
good now.
hear me?
Sorry. Maybe
Oh, okay.
I was
Yeah.
thinking as you were speaking about going deep into your character and then coming out the other side. That's the John Cena story arc of the sort of villain arc he's on. Isn't one of being the opposite of what it was. Is using what it was as a motivation for his turn.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's really similar actually. So the whole character thing with Roman Reigns, like how he went like from being super like disliked to then being like, I don't know, I guess respected or whatever as a villain. It's the kind of thing. It's like it just having like permanent resentment towards the fans who never like you enough the right way or whatever. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same thing I think with The Rock too, with his like heel turn. I don't know. It's like it's yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when you're like the hero and then everybody doesn't appreciate you. I mean, that's why they crucified Jesus or whatever. You know, it's like we want you to be a Messiah, not that kind of Messiah. And boo, you know, and then like the patience wears out or whatever. So, Ethan, what are you working on?
Collecting questions.
Yeah, collecting questions, just collecting questions. Can we go back to Jacob and the angel? Because the Hebrew Hammer first said that it's 100% kayfabe, and then said it's destiny. And I think that's right, because I think that kayfabe is destiny. I think we're all destined for kayfabe.
Well, yeah. I mean, well, it's interesting because I always think like, because it's people always say, what's the, you know, what is the balance or whatever, or like between our free will and God's sovereignty or God's power or, you know, God's omniscience, you know, is his foreknowledge of the future mean that the future is determined, and people get upset about that, and then they have like this one thing that they learn, like there's one thing you can do to rebel, which is to like sin, and it always turns out bad. So it's like that's the only thing you'd be like, yep, you did that on your own, you get full responsibility for your stupid
And the Calvinist
mistakes.
comes off the top rope.
I was thinking the exact same thing, Jake. Yeah.
It
The
was
glass
double
shattered.
predestined.
Dun, 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 dun. Oh, better yet, the gong lights out. The Calvinist appears in the middle of the ring. Perfect, Michael.
Well, you know, it's interesting though, because it's like the thing with this whole story arc of the wrestling is that you do know, like at some point they're like, we have to give people the satisfying finish at some point, like which was last year's WrestleMania or whatever. That was like the big high point, and it's like if you don't do that at some point, people just stop watching. But you know, like the way that like TV shows have been going for a long time now, it's like maybe they have some idea of like how they might eventually end a TV show, but not really, because they're like, well, let's try this. You know, we get like one season and then see if people watch it. And then we're just going to keep trying to like drag it out for as long as we can. And it just dies with a whimper. And it's like, you know, there's no satisfying ending or whatever, or, maybe if they get enough, if a show gets enough success to where they just can see like, okay, we have one, maybe two more seasons that we can logically like do anything. We'll try to like write a good conclusion, but you know.
Okay, but you realize that WWE isn't just in its, I don't know, 30th season. The Secretary of Education is Linda McMahon, and
Yeah.
the President of the United States was like actually in like what, isn't he in the WWE Hall of Fame? Like,
Yes, he is.
like kayfabe has burst onto reality. We are living it. The White House Twitter account has been insane for the past few weeks. We are living in kayfabe.
Okay. But there's a limit. I mean, there is good. It's useful to understand that. It doesn't mean that we are powerless, though. Like, because if they say, "Oh, politics is kayfabe," and next week we're starting a storyline called, totalitarian dictatorship, and like they're just going to try to go for it.
Well, no, that's the thing. Like nobody, even Peter Thiel, who more than most people, I think, in the background has been really aware of the kayfabe and manipulating it. Like he was one of the first people in Silicon Valley to support Trump in his run in 2016, and I definitely think was behind the whole switch in Silicon Valley for 2024. Like that's not scripted, right? It's not like he actually had a like the assassination picture, like Data Republican, who's a great Twitter follow, I highly recommend, was like, people said there's no more miracles. Now there are pictures. And she put up the picture of Trump. And she said, if it had been 1 millimeter one way, it wouldn't have hit Trump at all. There would have been no blood. People would have completely dismissed and denied it, right? If it had been 1 inch the other way, we would have been looking at civil war because it would have gone through his effing brain. It grazed his effing ear. And you don't believe in a fine-tuned universe, Mr. Atheist? Like, go away. Just go away. Like, I don't even understand why we take atheists seriously anymore. Just stop.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just to say the thing is like, well, that's the thing, because people say like it's scripted and it's all fake, and I'm not just talking about wrestling, but like politics or whatever. And then what they do is they just like take themselves out of the equation, and then it's like, okay, then you just are a passive observer, and you're just gonna suffer the consequences of whatever happens. You know, there's something about like. Well, even what it says about like men, the plans that men make, and then God, what God has in store, and like
many are the plans in the minds of man, and the counsel of God will be established.
Yeah. So like even so within the whole like wrestling thing, it's like it's a big experiment with the story about like finding the right story. And you can do it, and it happens on different levels, because like the match is a story too. Like there's a story arc to the match where first the good guy starts out strong, and then the bad guy starts beating him up, and then he suddenly gets a new well of energy and overcomes, and it's a close finish and whatever. Like, and so it's like, and then the success of the match is like, how well did you navigate that dynamic? And then it's like, okay, well, why do we care about this match? Because these guys have done a good job of managing like their characters and their careers. And it's really super, like, okay, so there was one, it was in the first day, there was a match, a ladies match, and there's this one lady who, she's super athletic. Her name was Jade Cargill, and it's like so clear that they want her to be a big star. She looks like Storm from the X-Men. Like, actually, I guess she like actually cosplays as Storm sometimes. She's like black lady, white hair, but super muscular. And like, she can do all these incredible moves, but then like in between all the moves, she's looks clueless, or like she's like, oh, I'm supposed to fake pretending being hurt now, or like she doesn't know like what to do, like when the other person is taking too long to get like up on the ropes, and it's just like instantly it's like, this looks fake. It looks like while she's doing the move, it's like, wow, that was an incredible move, but then it's like there's no substance to this character, and you just see it like right away, because it doesn't, like, so she doesn't understand like the purpose of like what is this story you're trying to tell. And then there's the other guy, Jacob Fatu. You're almost he doesn't do any, I don't know if I've ever even heard him talk. He just like is a crazy guy, and he just goes ah, and like he does that all the time. So like his facial expressions are always like, he you can tell he's like mentally, he's like, I'm this crazy guy, like when the whole time he's in the ring. And so then it's like, you know, he does good moves and all that stuff too, but it's like that's what keeps you engaged, is that consistency, because he doesn't just randomly stop and go oh, and like I have to pretend like I'm hurt so that the guy can come up and do the next thing on me, like, you know. So it's all about like the story is there, and your job is to figure out like what your part is in it and try to go along with it as best you can, instead of just, I don't know, doing whatever you want.
I can't wait until somebody shows up on my YouTube channel and thinks I'm the wrestler. That'll be fun.
You could be a good manager, Jacob. You could do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so some comments so far on the question, why do we take the atheists seriously? I think there is a common denominator to this, to the TLC, that we are all downstream from Jordan B. Peterson. And it's a Jordan Peterson statement that there is no atheism. There are people who claim that they are atheists. You just have to ask, what do they believe in? Because they believe in something, and quite fanatically. On the other hand, so this is one limit of a discussion within the TLC. There is no atheism. The other limit to discussion within the TLC is you cannot say, well, I see Jesus, so shut up. Just because that is the end of a conversation. I mean, yes. So if there's nothing to be said, then what are we doing here? Just by definition of us being here, then there's something to be said. So I will go back to my original subject. Once you accept that you have some free will, that you're not a puppet by the hands of God, then you ask yourself, okay, so I have this free will, what shall I do? What shall I do next? And the only answer I can give you that is general enough, you start climbing the ladder. As to Andrea the Giant, he later appeared in the movie, The Princess Bride. And because there are a lot of information about the way this film was filmed, we know that his back was very weak. He could actually carry nobody. So yes, he could kill you. But if you manage to jump on his back, you'll break it. You'll break him. So every giant has his Achilles heel. They're all,
Well,
which makes the game interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I would say, and this is the thing where I don't think wrestling is supposed to be just watched. I mean, like kids don't, I had a brother growing up, and then we had other friends who were guys, and it's like you watch it and then you go try it, and you wrestle each other, and you don't know how to do it fake. So what ends up happening is you hurt each other, and then you have to kind of figure out like, oh, I can't do X, Y, and Z, and you learn boundaries, you learn some of your strengths and stuff like that, and then even so, doing this whole thing, making these characters and stuff, it's like I couldn't just be any character in the world. So it's like San Antonio Sartori, there is very much a reflection of a real kind of anti-elitist streak that lives within me, like that's a real thing. And then like the book author is kind of like, I wish more people would want to talk to me about my book in this way, and like think of myself that way, and and so it's like there's limitations to what you can do with your free will or whatever, and so it is about discovering. It's how does your will and your choices and your agency fit into the bigger plan of God's story and how things are going on.
So I just did a Google search: child kills while trying to wrestle, because I remember there were cases. January 26, 2001, New York Times: boy convicted of murder and wrestling death. 13-year-old South Florida boy who accidentally killed a 6-year-old girl. Second result: ABC News: pro wrestling under fire after child's death. July 25th, 2001. 9-year-old, 65 pounds boy roughhousing with 16-year-old 225-pound friend dies. December 11th, 2013. 13-year-old Louisiana boy has been sentenced to 3 years in juvenile facility for killing his 5-year-old sister using WWE style wrestling.
Yeah, well, where were the parents? I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, yeah, because I have a little sister. I never tried to wrestle my little sister. I wrestled my brother and I wrestled the other boys. And usually, some of them were bigger than me. But, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what is the...
When we're talking about 3 deaths, there's been a lot of broken arms and broken legs.
What was the dates? I heard the one was like 2001. Were they all?
2 of them were in 2001, and 1 of them was 2013.
Okay, so then that later one, it's interesting because that's like the time around, because they went from like the Attitude Era of WWE, and then like they switched into a PG era, which I think is like, I think that's good. Or I actually think it's good to have like these different things, because some people want the more violent thing or whatever, but you put that on late at night, and then it is a thing of like, well, kids are throwing people through tables and windows and stuff. It's like they weren't supposed to be watching that stuff, but the stuff you put on Saturday morning is
okay. So part of me says they aren't supposed to be watching that stuff. Part of me says, like, if these kids don't know how to wrestle, I mean, you have the Rafe Kelly thing of like, when the dad isn't wrestling with the kids, and the kids never learn how to wrestle, and the kids never learn what it's like to punch someone in the face and what it means to be punched in the face, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You are actually begging for a more dangerous situation until, I mean, you guys have seen the videos of the LARPers who thought they were going to fight with the police, and especially in these encampments, and they don't understand what it actually means for a human being to actually hurt another human being.
My brother has some boys and a girl, and they start wrestling each other since age 0. I mean, the minute they got up on the feet, they start grappling with each other. By the time they were 6, they were already professional. And but by the time they were 9, they could topple my brother.
Yeah, my girls are pretty violent. Unfortunately, there hasn't been many serious injuries, but I don't know. I am a little nervous about them watching it because, like, on the one hand, I'm glad the ladies are more doing real athletes and stuff now, and it's not like so scandalous or whatever. But those costumes are too glamorous. My daughters are going to want to. That's what they're going to want to do or whatever when they grow up. So.
Okay, I have a question for you. Do
Yes.
you think wrestling has a special revelation of kayfabe? Because I think kayfabe is everywhere, and we found the language with wrestling, but I don't think it's an over application to bring it into literature or politics.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. I mean, I guess it's kind of like, so it started off as this whole carnival act, and it was like to be rigged or whatever. So you could fix fights for betting, you make more money, you prevent injuries, so you get to do it longer. Like that's why it was like rigged in the first place. And then I think it was really like with the TV era. Well, I don't know when it like. I mean, I guess so. There was like it's the interesting thing is like when the storytelling element comes in. Like I don't know when exactly it switched from being like, a real contest, like Olympic style, like because they would have people do that. Like in the 20s, I think that was still like the people that were doing it. It was still like real wrestling, like guys that would go to the Olympics and they would just fight each other until one of them gave up or something. I don't know when exactly like the storytelling elements of it like got put in. But that, then it's just the thing of like, because athletes are public figures. So then, but if you're in a story, like you have to maintain your character in your public life. I mean, because we do the same thing with athletes, like the teams don't want their athletes to be scumbags. Like they love it when a guy is a good role model. They're not, they're also like want to win championships. It's not like the main thing, but that's like, the holy grail or whatever for like sports teams is when they get that guy who's like a superstar athlete and he's also like a really good moral person. And then it's like that's the guy who's going to get, the advertisers are going to love that guy more than the guy that slaps his girlfriend or whatever, like, so so I don't know, it's just, yeah.
I think life imitates art, and art imitates life, and that's, I think that gets into Vervaeke's whole thing of the imaginal is not the imaginary, right? It's and he talks about like how important and how do I enabling the imaginal is of operating in the real world. Because when you seriously look at how we operate in the world, we we have a model of what the world is like, and then we live it. It's not that we look at. This was a huge thing when he said it for me. We don't observe the world and then process it. We process the world and then we observe it. That's shocking. Same thing with utilization behavior. When Peterson talked about that, there are people who get brain damage, right? Like actual brain trauma, and so when they see a cup, they automatically drink from it. So, which means that first we see a drinking object, and then we recognize it's a cup, right? They see a door, they have to walk through it because that's what a door is for, right? And when you consider, like, I think people there's a reason why people on farms tend to be so much more circumspect and wise. When you see baby sheep, like there's this YouTube channel I really like that like she raises sheep, she grows sheep. She's a Canadian woman, and like the first few hours that sheep is born, like how does it know to drink? How does it know to walk? Like they're born within hours, they're walking. That's shocking.
Well, that's the thing that's actually the most unique about humans. And I, made a big real, like literally our helplessness is our most unique characteristic. And personally, I think that even like comparing us to, like compared to like chimpanzees or whatever, if nature is red in tooth and claw the way that most evolutionists want to say it is, it's the you got some big explaining to do to explain this long process of humans becoming more and more and more and more and more helpless and dependent over like generations, because it's not like a very good survival mechanism to shed all of your instincts or whatever. Like, so as Jan God says here, well, yeah. So I mean, I think the framing of it has needs some updating. But
comments first about characters developing within the wrestling industry. You need a character when you need persistence. There was an age in which you had the Commedia dell'arte. They had some 4 characters. Everybody all over the world were playing the same 4 characters. So there was consistency. If you come to a village and you put up a show, then everybody recognized the characters as if there was television. Now that we have television, we can refine the character, and you need the character. So the character need to have a story so that it will be persistent. Now, in a parallel to a good symphony has chapters. There's a fast and happy chapter, then there is a slow sad chapter, there's another fast chapter, and then there is a concluding chapter. So a character needs to be sometimes a baby face and sometimes a heel in order to develop the theme on all its sides and get to a perfect masterpiece.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The one guy that basically no Christian commentaries have anything interesting to say about. I don't know what the rabbis say, but in Genesis 4, with this character of Lamech, the descendant of Cain, and most people are, Cain was bad, and this guy's also bad. But to me, he is like a perfect example of a wrestling character that's a heel, and he does heel behavior for a good purpose. Because like he's making these boasts about how God put his vengeance on the man who kills Cain, and it's going to be even worse for the guy who kills Lamech. But it's saying this after he's been like, because he kills a guy, and that's where we say, oh, he killed a guy, so he's bad. But he's being attacked, and his solution to being attacked is to basically make himself big and boastful and create a presence that dissuades other people from attacking him. And like that's a pretty smart way to do it. And I also because also I think it's clear, like when you say like, why is this chapter in the Bible, that some of those descendants made their way into the family of Noah and made their ways onto the ark and stuff, because they're the ones that developed all the skills to build an ark and take care of animals and live in tents, which is what all Noah's descendants are doing as soon as they get out of there. So it must have been that the women at least came from that side of the family or whatever. So I don't, casting them as a pure bad guy doesn't make sense. But you need someone who thinks that way.
So I'm looking up the rabbinic commentaries on Lamech, and they point out that his speech is the first song in the Bible. It's like it's the first time, like when he's giving a speech, like it's the first one that he's actually like doing a performance.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, no, because I don't understand it. I mean, I understand that if he's comparing to a wrestler and he's boasting to other people how strong he is.
To his women.
Yes. So why is it addressing the song to his women? I don't get it at all.
What do you mean you don't get it? Obviously, like men, why do men put on shows for women? It's a man's world, but it would be nothing without a woman. Don't you know that song? Come on, Yoav.
Well, yeah, no, that's the whole thing of he's saying I'm at the top of the hierarchy, and women pick their men off the top of the hierarchy. So if nobody else, even if nobody else is saying it, or and I mean he's putting the proof to it. Like people are trying to kill me, that means I'm important. So.
No, he was not addressing some random women on the street. He was addressing his wives. And Jordan Peterson told me that at that point, a wife will be suspicious of a man that is too dangerous around the children. And he specifically says how dangerous he might be around the children. There's something there I
think he's dangerous around other people's children. I don't think he's. I don't know.
Yeah, but the women are not going to like it. Once he's married, the women are not going to like it so much. It's not it.
Rashi says that he did this because his wives were separating themselves from him.
Fine. Because he was so violent.
No, well, maybe because he was so violent, but he's trying to woo his own wives.
Yeah.
That's interesting. He also says that Lemech was blind and killed Cain by mistake.
I kind of could throw something in right here. So went to the mechanic, got our car back, smelled like smoke. My wife's sensitive to smoke. Turns out my wife needed to see me do some performance art to go into this place. And I kind of rehearsed it afterward after I'd failed to do the performance art. So you're telling me I could have just went in there and told them my wife needs to see me come in here. So there's something like you're talking about this character in Genesis, and it makes me think about that. It's like sometimes you put on the performance to express your love.
I can see why Rashi would interpret the text this way. The words fit in. But then what is the meaning of it? I'm still stuck.
I've told this story way too many times, but it really angers me. I had an appointment, and it was the only time I needed this office for anything, and I was late, but the person behind the counter was watching a movie, and his supervisor comes and says, "Yeah, you're too late for your appointment." And I tried reasoning with him nicely, being a reasonable person. And I walked away. And I was like, if I go back and make a scene, he'll let me do what I needed to do, and it'll save me lots of time and money, right? It's like, okay, I hope this doesn't work. And I went back and I made a scene, and it worked. And I was so angry that it worked. But it worked. And like afterwards, when I told my friends are like, well, like it doesn't work in the long term. And it's like, I didn't need them for the long term. This was the one time I needed like this government office. I never went back there. This was 15 years ago, right? Like, and it just bothered me so much. And it still bothers me that it worked.
You are forgiven, Jacob.
I don't know that I did anything wrong. I
think I probably accused you of doing something wrong at some point when I heard that story.
Like, I wish just being reasonable would have worked, as opposed to going back and making a stupid scene.
Well, I mean, this is a little bit of
We can't hear you, Michael.
Yeah.
Speak into the mic.
Hello? Can you
Yeah.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I was a little thinking, I'm like, if people get really excited because I do this dumb thing, like, you know, and my channel blows up or something, I'm kind of going to be a little bit annoyed that is like the thing that that people care about. So maybe it's good that my subscriber count only went up by 1.
Can you link all the videos? Like that was
Yeah.
the one thing that was hardest for me, was to find the 3 different channels, which I did
It's
find.
just 2 different channels. I just kept changing the names of the channels.
Make
Okay, so I thought I found 3 different channels.
Yeah, I do have a playlist. I'll share the playlist. It should be public on my thing. Okay, let's see.
Meanwhile, to young God, yes, of course the sun is liquid. What else could it be?
Actually, the sun is liquid, isn't it, y'all? It's actually liquid. Yeah. I mean, I guess it could have been gaseous, but it's actually liquid. If I know my physics a tiny bit. Gabriel says plasma. I think that's actually more correct.
All right, I think this should be the link to the playlist, I think. So, Ethan, are you in Alaska now?
Yeah, we're in Anchorage till like early July.
What's the weather there now?
It was like 51 and sunny yesterday. Beautiful. I mean, it's cold up in the mountains. Still, I mean, still a lot of snow. Hard to go too far in a hike, but beautiful.
And what's the daylight like? Is it the long days or the short days, or short days and long nights? Or?
It's growing longer. So like last night must have been, I don't know, like 8:45, and I turned to Jane and I go, "Hey, what time is it?" She's like, "It's 8:45." I go, "Oh, I thought it was like 5 p.m." Yeah, it's like the light totally throws me because I'm so used to like it getting dark at night, but then it doesn't get dark until maybe 10 p.m. right now.
Interesting.
9:30 is when it like starts to get dark.
Fascinating. Did you check that link? See if that works. The one I put in the comments.
Yeah, it's got 11 videos.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I I don't know, what was I going to say? Oh, so I made the other note. Did anybody watch anything else? Because I made the playlist of San Antonio Sartori's recommended wrestling videos or whatever. His training playlist. I don't know if anybody saw.
I clicked on it, but I didn't watch through.
Oh, okay.
I was on vacation for a week, so I had a lot of time to watch it. Couldn't go through it, but I watched quite a lot.
You watch some of those ones? Anything interesting? Jacob.
Answer is yes.
Okay.
I am muted.
Jacob.
Yes. I think I listened through them. Like it was funny to me, but like yeah, nothing stuck out. Sorry. Also, Paul is
the ones that I did, or the ones that the playlist of other people's videos, or of my videos.
Oh, I didn't see other people's videos. I only saw yours.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that was no, yeah.
Also, Paul is inviting you onto the Freddie and Paul show.
Okay.
Okay, to Paul van der Clay, holidays in Israel. Passover is the opposite of a shutdown. It's the holiday when everybody goes out and travels around. I mean, you cannot go out and travel around because everything is full. You cannot go to a shore of the lake, it's full. You cannot go up a mountain because it's full. You cannot go to the beach because it's full. So anyway, you can visit your relatives, but then your relatives visiting you. So everybody's up and about.
That's when you have Chol HaMoed. So there are two holidays where there's this concept of Chol HaMoed where it's not a Jewish high holiday, so you can still use everything like electronics and everything. So like Yom Kippur, even in Tel Aviv, it is kind of like a COVID shutdown.
Okay, Yom Kippur. It's supposed to be a COVID shutdown, but Tel Aviv is secular. And remember what I said earlier, there isn't such a thing as secular. So it is religiously celebrated in the Jewish secular way, meaning you cannot drive a car unless it's a police car or an ambulance, but you are allowed to go on your bicycles. So all the roads are free of cars. So all the kids are on the roads with the bicycles, and you can actually, it's quite dangerous because their kids are young and they don't always know where they're driving. It's a fun holiday. Some people go to the synagogue, not any of my friends and relations.
Do they allow synagogues in Tel Aviv?
Inside the synagogue, you had a discussion about it with Chezi, so you know the answer.
I'm joking.
No, it's not a joke, but okay, I will accept it as one.
Yeah, my friend is from childhood who lives in Tel Aviv. Every year he participates in a bike marathon on Yom Kippur. So
my custom is to go through a long march also Tel Aviv on the roads and see the kids on the bikes. So something like 10 kilometers walk circular route in Tel Aviv. That's what I usually do.
yeah, in Jerusalem there are no bike or marathons. Yeah.
Hello, David.
Hello. Good day, everyone. I'm coming in because I was asked to preach on the weekend, and we were going through, it was at a Messianic synagogue. And so it was actually Pesach 7, where it's the crossing of the Red Sea. And they were talking about, I'm going to do this to get glory over Pharaoh. And I kind of made a mention of this a couple of weeks ago because I've been preparing for this for a bit, that there is a bunch of kayfabe in the Exodus story, for lack of a better term, where God, the function of hardening Pharaoh's heart seems to be, if God just defeated Pharaoh outright, that wouldn't be anything to talk about. So God has to make a spectacle out of it. And he makes a spectacle by riling Pharaoh up and by drawing everyone's attention and by pulling and pushing and changing the things so that he can make such a large example. And that's part of the function of the final death of Pharaoh is guys, this is going to be super cool. God is specifically making it look cooler. Because look, if I just bring you out, if I he could teleport them into Canaan and just get rid of everyone, but then no one can talk about that, right? He has to draw the attention and drag out the plagues to be 10 full plagues, and then to some extent for Passover, that's even the part of Dayenu, right? God could do whatever he wants. He doesn't. So why does he do it this way? To build a reputation. That's why, he wants a reputation, and that's how he builds it.
The other day, Jacob was asking the question, why do Democrats always double down? Why do they never see sense? Perhaps.
The Democrats as Pharaoh. I hadn't thought of it.
I'm surprised you hadn't. But Jacob, did I completely? You seem to be nodding. Am I getting the story right?
No, this idea that God hardens Pharaoh's heart because there is a show. This actually is one of the things. I didn't want to go too deep into Christian theology, but Jewish theology as opposed to Christian theology says that the world is a sort of veil or mask, right? That God is in fact playing dress up with us, right? Which a lot of Christian theologians really dislike that idea.
Well, I mean, I'm completely on board with you, obviously, and the whole idea. I mean, even to go deeper with it is within Messianic Christianity. There's an idea that that's the whole point of even the plagues, is that God's real concern is saving us from the slavery of our sins, and that's why there is the Passover in the first place, right? And God even makes mention of this in the prophetic literature. He says, "Look, days are coming. No one's even going to talk about Egypt," which is why Christians don't read the Old Testament, Jacob. It's to fulfill that scripture.
I have never accused Christian theologians of basing their theology on the Bible. That's
Okay,
not an
good point.
accusation I have ever made.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do think all that stuff is in Christianity too, because there's this whole idea that the devil is being baited to kill Christ, like, and that is in of itself a demonstration of
Well, that's the book of Job, right? It's kayfabe. Like Satan and God are making this plan, right? And so I think especially the discussion that Sam had with Rabbi Singer, I listened to it over again, right? It was really, really good.
Yeah,
and one of the things they talked about was the idea that the book of John, I believe it was edited later, but that people really don't understand the Jewish and early character of the book of John. I think the book of John, I actually think, may have been earlier than the book of Mark as a gospel, which would be shocking unless you read it in its hyper-Jewish way. And if you read it in its hyper-Jewish way, it still has the Jewish mysticism that I think much of Christianity has lost, which is this idea that, yeah, God is in fact playing dress up with us. And that's also in the book of Esther. It's in the book of Ruth. It's all over the place.
Well, Sartori, what were you going to say?
Yeah, so I mean, I think so. This is why I think that like wrestling is goofy as it seems or whatever. It is something that I think maybe Christians should take more seriously, and because there's something about like the persistent story, like, and how these things can last for like years and stuff. And it really is, I think, an informative thing where you can learn a lot about life. And I mean, I could say, there's been some Christians that have more embraced, like, we should be doing more of a narrative theology, like, because the Bible is written as a narrative, and, creation, fall, redemption, whatever, like going through that thing, or, as Paul always says, like, misery, deliverance, gratitude. Like, you need all those elements for the thing. And like the idea of just like static states of being like good and evil, or like, the good guys will live and the bad guys will just be destroyed, or like just this flat state of it's just so foreign to how we experience everything. I think we do a disservice when we try to like, and I'll even say it's like, maybe I'm doing a heresy or whatever, but this is like the only way that I can actually understand things. You actually have to understand that like God puts this bad stuff in there so that he can fix it, so that we can like understand his love in the right way, because that's the only way we understand any of this stuff. We don't understand any of it as just like, oh, I'm identifying this person as being a purely good person and that person's a purely bad person.
Like in a lot of Jewish thinking, that is part of the purpose of Hasatan, is that
Yeah.
sometimes the way that Satan appears, and this is probably going to bother people, is how you might expect God to appear. And so it allows God to take a different perspective in some of the stories. And like even in the book of Job, that's part of what's going on, is you have people saying, oh, you know, God's doing this to you, when overarchingly we know that that Hasatan is the one doing it. And so Job is then putting the onus on God, but we as the reader know that something else is kind of happening, right? And so the first of Job's friends to speak, I was just doing a Bible study with a friend on this. First of Job's friends to speak says, when was the innocent never perished? Bad things never happen to good people. And all the time when something bad happens, you're being punished for something you did, right? Where we know that's not the case in Job, right?
Yeah. So, you know, it's interesting. So, like, and this is even something I was saying to my wife or whatever. I'll share this link to this one video. This is really worth watching. It's this rivalry between Bret the Hitman Hart and Shawn Michaels. And like, these are guys who are in real life friends, and then like really got upset with each other over like the professional aspect of it, you know, the business. Like, so they had a feud that was like an in the ring feud, but it was a real feud too. They really didn't like each other. And then like one guy, the more Bret Michaels, the less mature, more screwed up one, he becomes a born again Christian and has this whole like thing. And it was like wanting to forgive, but then he's even still afraid to talk to Bret Hart, because he's like, I think this guy wants to kill me. And it's like, you know, there's all this process of maturing that happens. And then eventually, like 20 years later, or 15 years later, I mean, something like that. I think it's like 12 years later, like 12 years, they don't see each other. And then they see it. And like, he goes up behind, like backstage, and he's like, hey, I really want to like say, you know, I'm sorry for all these things happen. And the other guy says, let's save it for the ring. So then they go out in the public, and it's the genuine first time that one person is expressing a genuine apology for genuine things that happened 12, 15 years earlier. And they decide to do it in front of everybody, shake hands, bury the hatchet, all this stuff. And it's like, you should see something like that happen in church. Like, that's the thing that people need to see, because this is like how you're supposed to go through life. And it's like, why is wrestling doing a better job of it than church is?
Yeah, well, so I'm jumping to something in my mind, which is like sex scenes in movies, right? And I don't know if people have seen Hail Caesar. It's one of the only movies that actually gets into some of this stuff. Is that it used to be, and this still happens, by the way, that sometimes the studio will say, we want there to be buzz about this film, that your guys' chemistry is so strong that you, as part of your contract, have to pretend that this is really happening, have to date your co-star for like a couple of months, right? It's like, we want there to be this like this environment where people are like, wow, like obviously whatever's happening has to be so intense. But then you get other stories where that is not the case, but the actors really do engage because they're asked to be filming sex scenes or whatever, like intimate scenes together. You're spending all this time together. And like, my wife and I are actors, and we like, I'm not kissing any actresses on stage. Like, we've had conversations about what all this stuff looks like, because there's certain things that we know people that are like, oh, this is completely harmless, and we are not on team harmless. We'll just put it that way. But there's a couple of like high profile relationships in the past couple of years that people may have heard of, that if you followed some things through, and I don't know why I did, it was revealed that they weren't actually even dating. that the studio said, you guys, like, you have to be in a relationship with each other. And then, so to what extent can those things even be fake?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing where it's like one of those things where if it's just a publicity stunt, like, or like maybe if the people don't really like each other and then they do it as a publicity stunt, like people are going to know. You know, it's like whenever they say like, oh, so and so is gay and they have a secret relationship, like a girlfriend to hide the whatever, and then people are always like, yeah, and they roll their eyes at it or whatever. So it's like you can't. But then, you know, when it's really real, then it is more compelling in a way that you can't fake that. But what you're saying is also a good warning to be like careful about how you do this because you do. And that's even like, that's what you see with some of these wrestlers. It's like, sometimes it's like they start playing the heel on screen and then they become more of that. I mean, I think some of it might be that it's allowing an opportunity for some things to spill out of their personality that were probably always there and they didn't realize it. But then it's like, wow, they get this experience to kind of get to the bottom of it and then come out the other side.
Well, and like in wrestling, there's some strikes that occur that are real. Like people really get hit, right? And there's like, even I remember there was like this series that was like someone unmasking magicians and showing how they do their tricks. And then a little bit afterwards, they were like, okay, we're going to show how some of the tricks in wrestling were done. And what was crazy is in the wrestling one, some of them, it's just like, okay, so how do we make it look like the guy's bleeding? And it's just like, oh, well, he actually has like a razor blade under here and he'll cut himself a little bit. I'm like, that's not fake. If he's just making himself bleed in a more controlled way, like to what extent is that fake, right? And if you're in a sex scene or if you're like, I can't fake kissing someone unless it's obviously fake. Like if it's my lips and their lips, like.
Father Stephen talks about there's a tradition that the incident at Antioch was actually Paul and Peter like faking a scene for it in a pedagogical way.
Yes,
yeah. And it's so when Michael said that stuff doesn't happen in church, I'm not sure it doesn't happen in church.
It does not happen.
We can't hear you. You have to talk into the mic.
I don't know where. Can you hear me now?
You're buzzing.
Yeah, something's wrong with your mic.
Michael Sartori speaking to us from inside the hive of bees.
A little bit better. But there's still.
What would you like to know about Michael Sartori?
Oh,
did I just have?
I don't know who asked what I would like to know about Michael Sartori, but
I have so many questions.
There are many questions we could ask about Michael Sartori.
Somehow I pushed the button.
You need to turn on location services for that. Don't depend on just the sensor while using Siri. I don't know where you are, but you can show me. Go to privacy settings. Select location services.
I have no idea what that is. But
so I pushed the button on
this is
like
so
the
good.
steering wheel that made my phone like want to ask like thought I was trying to talk to it. So I just turned the radio down. So.
Share what someone just commented. It's so good.
I enjoy this.
Yeah, I enjoy a good pun. I enjoy a good pun.
That is a good one. Anyway, I was saying yes. It's not that stuff doesn't happen in church. It's just that it doesn't happen as much as it should. And so, I mean, obviously, I think that the narrative kind of like it's just the whole thing of having some magisterium or having some systematic theology. Like that stuff doesn't know how to deal with narratives, and the Bible is written in narratives, and so. It makes sense to me that they probably understood that stuff better, closer back to those times.
To some extent, I think that might be the fight between David and Goliath as well, where it's like we're just going to make a display and a show. It's going to be a public spectacle, and that's going to demonstrate who the overarching winner is. And that certain things like that happen as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, because they all kind of said, like, you know, it's the gods or the fates or whatever, you know, like, you know, it's that way that
it's buzzing and it's really bad.
Okay.
He's just going to go on mute, and now it is just going to be the Bible study talking about wrestling.
I didn't realize how much of, like, we're talking about a lot of things being drama in the Bible, and it is. There's a lot of drama in the Bible.
The first time my wife celebrated Passover with me, she said, "Oh, it's like dinner theater. First we do this thing, and then we do this thing, and like we're."
Oh, like there, especially among the modern Orthodox crowd, like people will dress up. And
that's that's what you're doing, right? Or even the like with like the phylacteries and stuff like that, right? It's just like you read the passage, and the passage could be taken just completely metaphorically, right? But it's just like no, quite literally. Put it on your forehead.
Actually do this. Yeah.
Actually put it on your forehead, put it on your arm. And it's just like, doesn't it mean to think about it and to act on it?
Sure. But that doesn't mean you don't actually do it.
But we're going to do this. Yeah. It's like, it's very, very bizarre sort of thing. And like, yeah, it's a little bit of theater. It's there's some pageantry about it. It's worse.
Is it better now?
It's weird because you're on twice.
Okay. Wait,
but no, it's not echoing. It's good. Yeah,
it's not echoing good. When one of them's muted. Yeah. So you're good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't focusing very much on what you were saying because I was trying to solve my technical issues.
It's the thing that I've been thinking about for quite a while was actually first related by theater. And I was trying to get into some of this stuff with when I was talking about Shakespeare on Jacob's channel. But the breaking the fourth wall is so old. It's so old. And in the Hebrew Bible and in the New Testament, there is a lot of pageantry. There's making displays, there's upping drama, there's rituals that are supposed to like my whole belief about the tabernacle is that people thought of the high priest going into heaven when he went in there. Like they knew that it was a picture of that, and that even God in heaven was just a metaphor, right? Like Solomon says, even the heaven of heavens is too small to contain you, right? So they know that this is just like a picture, but they walked through it every single year.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because I know Phlebas was giving me the pushback on my thing about the ancients said that actors are the worst and all this stuff, and I remember reading some of Saint Augustine saying that the plays, you know, because the other temples had the plays that they would put on as part of the worship, but of course part of the problem with that is that they were having sex, when there was a sex scene, that's what they were doing. And it gets into that weird thing of the way that they were going too far with their gimmick or whatever by embodying the gods, and you know, and so maybe, you know, then there's a pushback to push away from that. But I think if you can find that limit, which seems like it's probably not that hard to find, there is like some great use in that. And I mean, people do that. You even do that just with reading, like, you know, like in your mind, you are like somewhat putting yourself in those characters' shoes and and experiencing things that way.
Just think about the feasts. In the feasts, it'll be like, look, I don't care if you're happy today. You're going to afflict your soul. Like but you know, I don't feel it today. I don't care. You're going to afflict your soul. And then there's other days where you're commanded to be joyful. Commanded to be joyful, right? And even in tabernacles, as an example, if you're in the middle of mourning for a loved one and it's Sukkot, you have to stop. You can be sad later. Right now, you have to channel what this feast is about, right? Like, get over yourself, and you got to do this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, and even to think like there's these, you know, then there's the rhythms of it, that it's annual, and well, you know, and Sabbath is weekly, and that sort of thing. And I mean, I think that is kind of and that is kind of my whole thing where I, you know, the way that these metaphors, there's so many metaphors in the Bible, and we read, when we just stick on the propositions or whatever, we read the metaphors, we don't realize how much those meant to someone who was more intimately familiar with whatever the topic of the metaphor is. And I think even, like, this is even an interesting thing I was thinking about, like, you know, where Paul and Peter both talk about like spiritual milk, and that like, you guys are new in the faith, you need spiritual milk. And we're like, oh yeah. David, have you ever heard like in a church service somebody saying like spiritual milk is a good thing?
No, never.
Yeah, me neither, because it's always like, you need to be mature so you can have the spiritual meat. But then like, learn, and it's interesting now because like we know more than we ever did before, like learn about breast milk and like what's going on there with the interaction between like the mother and the child, and how perfected like that nutrition system is in like delivering exactly what it needs to the baby. And then it's like, man, I think more of us probably do need pure spiritual milk. We haven't gotten nearly enough of it. Like
right. And
we're getting bad formula instead.
Well, and there's tons of people that are jumping ahead of themselves.
Yeah.
They're going too quick into things that they don't actually understand yet. And it's just like, take your time, you know, Torah first. You know, then you'll get to, like, one part of my experience was when someone becomes a Christian, they almost immediately, and they want to talk about the Bible. They want to talk about the book of Revelation. Just like, maybe give it a minute, right? Or like a friend of mine who I'm doing the Job Bible study with that I was mentioning before, he came in and he's one of my friends, and I started doing a Bible study, not from like a very church background. He starts getting into it. He immediately wants to talk about Revelation and Job. And I'm like, I said, no, we're not going to do these things that you think are fun. We're going to start with Deuteronomy. So we started with Deuteronomy. Then we did Judges, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings. And now I'm like, okay, now I think you can handle Job, right? Like, ease into the wisdom literature. Don't put yourself in a position where you think you already understand everything.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's, you know, even like why it's, you know, it's interesting because like Genesis, and you know, Paul always talks about this, how like people get excited about reading the Bible and stuff, and it's like it starts with Genesis, and Genesis is the most like, it's the most easy to read like narrative of the Bible. Like, I mean, it's obviously incredibly deep. We haven't plumbed the depths of it, but like it's instantly relatable. And you know, I think it's like when you have like the gospel message coming to these Greeks and all these people or whatever, it's like Paul is starting on the basis of like, you guys kind of know like Genesis is like the universal history or whatever. So it's like that's the thing for everybody. And then it's like maybe then you find out about like Jesus, and then they'll be like, oh, we didn't really pay attention to what was going on with the Jews in Israel. Maybe then, that's like the Gentile, like Jesus is the Gentile path into caring about the rest of the scripture. But like that first part of Genesis is like so universal that it's the most straightforward narrative. So it's like the most straightforward narrative aspect is the most universal.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember, Michael, you're like my age. Do you remember in like 1990 when there was like a toy called like thumb wrestlers? Do you remember this?
No, but I mean, I can imagine that there was such a thing. I mean, like real thumb wrestling was a thing.
Yeah, so it's let me present. I'm sorry. I'm just getting a flashback to something in my mind. Okay. Can you let me present, my friend?
I will be able to.
Okay, so this is Hulk Hogan, and he had like a hole in his back. It was like a piece of rubber. So you like thumb wrestled with the wrestlers. I remember as a kid thinking it was strange that all the fighters were in their underwear. That was weird to me. I remember that.
Yep.
I had this toy for a very long time until it ripped apart because it was like. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of this.
It is that is one of the things the guy that runs the show now or whatever, Paul Levesque, he said like every once in a while it's like stress comes up and like things get too stressful, and then you just reminded everybody, hey, it's just grown men fighting in their underwear. So like
yeah.
Well, I'm driving to a less in the direction of not so inconvenient from where I was, but so I don't know. Might want to shut it down if we've had our fill of discussion. I think it was at least Teo actually watched. I know Matt Krotz was watching too from Twitter, but he didn't. Not always the best time for everybody. So San Antonio Sartori does not need to retire because people did show up and watch WrestleMania and showed up to the WrestleMania live stream. So that was the challenge. And so I think we can say that was accomplished. So that's good. Does anybody have anything that they would like to add before we shut things down?
Is Pontius Pilate washing his hands kayfabe? Does that count? Like
probably.
I'm now thinking of all these. I'm thinking of all these moments that in the Bible they take, and they're like, let's make this into like spectacle. Let's do like pay attention over here. Like thinking of a lot of that stuff. Anyway, so I'm going to continue thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm just glad I came and defeated all challengers. So
with facts,
the Hebrew Hammer is undefeated.
Undefeated.
Yeah. He's got to do like a heel grabbing move of some kind. I don't know what that would be. Okay, goodbye.
All right. It's been great. See you guys later.